Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. Tonight we focus on what's happening tomorrow. Between 8 and midday, the National Resistance Movement will be going into its primaries. The biggest question that we're all having on our minds is, will the ghosts of 2021 come back to haunt them? As a party, there are aspirations of the people, promises of individual candidates and aspirants there, but also, where does the party stand since the manifesto that they had between 2021 and 2025 has elapsed? What are they promising Ugandans? But also, the 2021 primaries were marred by malpractice, bribery, a lot of commercialization, but also looking at a lot of sub-counties or constituencies that had issues that were never resolved. Most of them raised independent candidates thereafter. So when you look at some of the key points we're talking about today, we'll start there. We'll also be focusing on the president's PDM tour that has brought him to Kampala and the CBD. What does that mean for us? But let me get to the panel that is with me this evening. On my immediate left, Charity Ahimbisibwe, the Executive Director of Electoral Laws Institute. She's with us this evening. Good evening, Charity, and it's good to have you.
Good evening, Timothy, and you forgot to say Kalebo. How can Nyangweso fail to say Kalebo?
Next to Charity is no stranger to this show. He has been away for a while. Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, representing the people of Kira Municipality, the Secretary General, in charge of also mobilization at the People's Front for Freedom. Good evening, Honorable, and it's good to have you.
Thank you, and good evening to you and to those who are watching and following the show.
I forgot spokesperson, also of PFF.
No, you see the trouble in other parties, every function has become an office. If you look at the presidential advisors, we even have one for Chigezi Diocese. So the country has been sexed to believe that every function is an office. For us, we are consolidating functions, so my main function as the Secretary General of PFF is mobilization, but I've also been appointed to be the brand master of that party. So those are functions, not offices.
Will you be able to feel from the presidency all the way members of parliament to the local authorities? Is that a possibility with PFF in this short window?
Very difficult because the way constituencies are demarcated in Uganda, they are demarcated in favor of NRM. Karamoja, with a population of 1.4 million people, has 26 MPs. Wakiso district, with a population of 3.4 million, has 9 MPs. So where the Honorable Medad Segona represents a constituency of 800,000 people, mine is 500,000. Districts like Butambala, Karaki, Buko, they are 140,000, 130,000, 120. So in Chile alone, you have about 6 districts. Wow. So the NRM has an artificial majority in parliament. So if you are going to divide the constituencies according to the population, our numbers will not be as small as they look.
Thank you, Honorable. Next to Honorable Semuju is Professor Ogenga Morris Latigo, a veteran politician at that, a scientist, a professor interested in insects. Good evening, Professor. No, it's good to have you.
I'm Professor of Insects. Don't be vague about that one. Thank you, Timothy. I'm happy to be on this panel with my very good friends, all of them. And good evening, viewers. I hope to enjoy the program tonight.
Let's go where the color is yellow. Honorable Lumala Emmanuel Dombo, Director of Publicity and Information at the National Resistance Secretariat. Good evening, son. It's good to have you.
Timothy, thank you very much, and good evening to you. It is a pleasure for me to be here after a while. And on this eve, when tomorrow we are preparing for an election bigger than the general elections in Uganda. And I will explain when that time comes, but for now,
there's nothing to celebrate.
It's a pleasure to be here with Professor and Honorable Semuju. These are some of the real seasoned and credible MPs I've had an opportunity to interact with.
Okay.
I enjoyed Parliament when the government side was led by Professor and the opposition was led by Professor. I don't know when Parliament will have this quality and caliber of interaction. And even the decisions that we made exactly reflected that. Professor, it's a pleasure to be with you today, short night.
Thank you very much. Lastly but not least, Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, the Vice Chairperson of the NRM Eastern Region, the incumbent and the aspirant. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Timothy. It is indeed a pleasure, and I'm exceedingly humbled and profoundly honored to be with a team of great minds and patriots, I suppose, and very strong nationalists. And it is always indeed humbling to be with them, to continue to cross-pollinate on national issues.
We'll get to that cross-pollination in a short while. You can join us on YouTube. We'll be there.
Professor knows exactly what it is.
We're streaming live on the space on X. Just get there and drop your comment. The number to send your text or WhatsApp is 0709 60 25 92 for text and WhatsApp. We'll be getting to those in a short while. Well, before we go any further, I would like to pay tribute to a fallen hero, Justice J.W. John William Kanyeham, who passed away this week at the age of 55 there. 85, passed away at 85 years of age. Very sad to be able to see him pass on there. I'll start with Charity. Your tribute to the fallen justice.
Justice Wilson Kanyeham. Yesterday I was actually arguing with someone and saying all the rulings I've read, I think I saw William. But the family posted Wilson.
Yes.
George Wilson Kanyeham. Powerful brain, a defender of human rights, a defender of the rule of law, uncompromising. He stood for his word. I think Uganda has lost an icon. Uganda has lost what we call a legal giant. You know, if you read the judgments of Justice Kanyeham, you would see a man who believed in the Constitution as he dreamt of it. He had been there at the Constituent Assembly, and from the time of the framing of the 1995 Constitution, he gave us that Constitution. So Uganda stands in terms of the rule of law, pegged on a document he so much believed in. He believed in justice. He believed in equality. Article 21 was his thrust. We are all equal before and under the law. And for him, it didn't matter where you came from. As long as he saw injustice, he spoke out. And I have seen government deciding to take over the funeral. They have not given us a clear roadmap, but I hope they give him a very decent send-off because of the kind of man he was. Also because he spoke very candidly against government and a number of issues against government, but these things he said them out of a good heart. Okay, where you wish a country to go forward, not where you wish to distract development of a country.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honorable Semuju, I know both on the journalistic end you had an interaction with him, but also when you got into the space of politics, you had an interaction. Your tribute to the late justice.
Kanyeham was a real professor. And I'm saying so because one time I was covering the opening of a Restock bookshop where Chiduma Kubia was a guest of one, and the owner, Katende, told us that Chiduma Kubia was the first Ugandan to get a first-class law degree. First class. But he was interpreting law as if he didn't go beyond the nursery school. That's why someone who headed the faculty of law at Makerere, had been attorney general, had been many things. His death was very ordinary. So the one of Kanyeham, why we are mourning him. Why because you see, education gives you some pride. There are things that you cannot do, and there are things that you cannot be asked to do. I know he was Attorney General, but there are things that President Museveni would never ask him to do, but he found it easy to ask subsequent Attorney Generals. So he was a real professor. Sometimes he was controversial. I interviewed him. I spent a day with him at his home in Bunga. He gave me his manuscript for his book, and he said, the part of the information you want, you can pick from this. Then the following day, he called me to quarrel. This book I haven't published it. Why are you picking information? But he's the one who had given me the manuscript. I was angry. I didn't answer. Then many of his calls, then he called to say sorry. But he was also a victim of our politics. And because of his character, the president sacked him, but made him a senior presidential advisor. I think they were the very first with Tinyefuza. And for many months, they didn't see Museveni to advise. So they had a press conference, him and Tinyefuza, at which they announced that they were looking for Museveni to advise him. That he appointed us advisors, but we don't see him. We're just seated here with no work. So from that time, I learned that actually presidential advisors was just a decent way of giving you a salary, but for no work. These days, the president can even send you home. You are a presidential advisor with a salary, and he says, you go home.
Okay.
I don't want to go into names. But I respect him as a judge of the Supreme Court. The only unfortunate thing is that even after serving as a judge of Supreme Court, he wanted to go to court as a lawyer. That one I found very disturbing. That you go to appear, including before judges that were at a lower rank. It's not in the law, but I think we need to put it there. Because the same problem, I saw Kavuma, who was a Chief Justice, being appointed to head the board of civil aviation. And I said one day if they take him to a magistrate. So when you have served at that level, and that's why the law we made of administration of judiciary, we said judges should be given, is it 70% of what they are earning, and the Chief Justice, you retire with everything. And that was my proposal, because I said there's only one Chief Justice in Uganda who retires at an old age. Allow them some decent send-off.
Okay. Thank you very much. Professor Latigo, your tribute to the fallen justice.
Well, I knew Justice Kanyeham not closely, but it's the kind of person I could quickly understand. And for me, I don't want us to mourn his departure, because he played his role in this country.
Yes.
Dying at 85 is not too bad. Could have been longer. But I liked him for being the Muchiga that he is.
Candid.
Candid, brutal with facts, and unafraid to say the things people fear to say. And then, given that he was part of the NRM struggle, but that when he stepped into the role of a leader of the state, he left out his NRM background and focused on what he must do for the country. From that perspective, when it passed on, it immediately reminded me of a very strong DP who became a judge and served very, very honorably, Justice Mulenga. I knew him because we from Kalongo side, we are DPs by tradition. So I knew Mulenga for a long time. But when he went into the judiciary, he was one of those judges you knew if you went before him.
Until the BCJ 2006 case in which he changed his judgment.
That one, I don't know what happened, but in the primary rulings that he had in other cases,
Yeah.
he was outstanding.
Thank you.
So, fare thee well, Justice Kanyeham.
Honorable Dombo, your tribute to the justice.
Timothy, I don't know whether it was late last year or the earlier part of this year, where Justice Kanyeham sent me an invitation to go and attend the launch of his books, the foundation, Kanyeham Foundation, and in which he collected a compendium of books at a price. Because I had traveled, we had an activity in the party, I missed the activity. But just about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, a team from the foundation came to my office, and I was pleasant to pay for the books, and I bought them for the NRM Secretariat. I said, these books have been bought, and me, as Director of Information, there is no better contribution I would do for Kanyeham apart from buying for those books. And I want to tell you that I'm going to ask the Secretary General so that we buy more, because it is information.
But NRM people don't
When I was,
so you're buying them for what?
When I was a young man, my father used to tell us that knowledge is the only wealth that increases when you share it. It doesn't get finished. And Justice Kanyeham chose, through his pen and paper, to share the wealth of knowledge that he had acquired. He's no more, but his knowledge will keep circulating and people read and benefit from it. So, allow me to express our condolences to the members of the family, the people he associated with, and we'll thank him for the good legacy. Like my brother, Professor Latigo said, Justice Kanyeham was a Mchiga Kashushu. He was very blunt with his words, factual or not, but he was very blunt when he said them. And he was a human being. And death has demonstrated to all of us that we are human beings and we are mortal. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Amen. Lastly, Captain Mike Mukula.
I think we celebrate a man who served this country with a lot of commitment. He was independent-minded and brutally courageous and honest to the bone, a typical Muchiga. And I also want to say that he was a vocal defender of democracy and the rule of law. And I would like to say that this intergenerational engagement, especially him who was who came into government when he was, fairly mature and a lot of experience in legal practice, which eventually carried to the Supreme Court. You'll find that even in some of the judgments, his judgment in most cases and in matters that would be highly controversial, Kanyeham came out as Kanyeham. We celebrate his life, born in 1939. I think he had lived a fairly decent life. And being an academic writer and an intellectual, we thank God for his life. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you very much. Our condolences go out to the family, the wife and the children, and also the friends, especially in this trying time. May God comfort you in this trying time, but our condolences go out. Let's get into the topics of discussion, and the first topic, we'll breeze through it, especially the President's PDM tour that is in Kampala and the CBD there. Most of the weekend will be spent in Nakawa and also spent in areas where he'll have rallies in Kololo. Let me begin with Honorable Semuju, then I'll come to the yellow camp that side. Honorable, the President, this PDM program was between 2021 and 2022 launching. The President has been on the road for almost 2 years. He has been in Busega, Wakiso, Ruaga, heading to Nakawa in your area. He will also be heading to have a rally. I was listening to someone who was giving me the 3 areas that he has to do. He has to check on projects, then he also has to meet leaders, and finally he has a rally. What do you make?
He was in
We're speaking of now the CBD and Kampala. What do you make of these PDM tours of the president?
It's not PDM. You see, I have told the people, and I want to repeat myself, that Museveni is intelligent. He only has a bad heart, but he's very intelligent. He lacks sloganeering, and he will make you believe that actually there is something in it. In my constituency, I have a population of 459,000, nearly 500,000. 130,000 homesteads. The recent population and housing census put the size of household in my constituency at 3.2. There are 8,000 homes that have benefited from PDM. Times 3.2, you come to less than 20,000, or just about slightly, 25,000. I have a population of youth aged between 18 and 30, 15 million.
In your constituency?
In my constituency. Half of those youth are neither in school nor in employment. Uganda, if you read the population and housing census report, Uganda as a country has borders who are now 5.2 million borders. And it is easy, you don't have to be a scientist. We have 1.7 million Ugandans who have completed, who have either a certificate or a diploma or a degree, 1.7 million. This economy, Museveni has presided over for 40 years, cannot find jobs for just 1.7 million people in a population of 46 million people. That's why the last time I checked with the Minister for Gender, in Saudi Arabia alone, we have 170,000 Ugandans, graduates and undergraduates, who have gone to work as askaris and maids. This is bigger than the average size of a district in Uganda, because Butambara has 140,000, Buko, Karaki, and so on and so forth. I was on TV show and asked, why doesn't Museveni appoint another DC in Saudi Arabia, where you have a population bigger than the size of a district? So if you come to Chireka, it is an insult to say that you have come to inspect PDM, where the population of border in my constituency is more than 50,000, and you have come to inspect PDM over 3 years of people who are less than 20,000, and you have 2 rallies in Kasokoso and Nambole. Museveni is not inspecting PDM. He's using PDM to campaign like he did towards 2021 elections. At that time, he even generated a supplementary budget through Parliament of 43 billion. And in all meetings, I mean, you've gone to inspect people who have made money from PDM. So you've gone to celebrate that achievement, but every person you meet, you're giving them money. I thought they have made money. You have come to celebrate their achievement. In my constituency, I can tell you, there was no PDM program for Museveni to inspect. His handlers took him to a washing bay, dressed up all children in yellow to receive him, and the children, I think, were not properly advised. They said, for us, it is Myoga. So, and I know that has happened, because if you look at the population, I mean, at the population and census report, they claim that PDM was supposed to target people who are not in the money economy. Of course, they keep revising the figures. They said those who are in subsistence agriculture and subsistence economy, and I think they put a figure, was it about 12 million? I'm not sure, I don't remember. We've so far spent about 3 trillion. That's the money released in the last 3 financial years. So PDM will not be different from any other government program.
Okay.
That's why the president, he stations himself at where someone on his own either has a poultry, and then he begins photographing himself with the eggs. He goes to his, I mean, there is no country, for God's sake, that is going to develop as a result of throwing some money at people. Uganda has people who are in agriculture, 62% of the population. We are doing irrigation at 2%. We receive the highest amount of rainfall in the world. But just look, I was in Chazanga where I was born. This season hasn't been good. They are cutting, I was in Mubende, they are cutting maize. In a country, because of the dry spell, in a country that receives the highest amount of rainfall, and the irrigation is at 2%, and then you go around enjoying yourself. I think the president and his wife are on a tour, tourism like anyone would do if you have money and you want to go and look at people.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Professor Latigo. Professor, we spent about 300 billion, following to what Honorable Semuju, to create these committees, the PDM committees, the chiefs, the whole committee that decides to do this, the CDOs in there. There's an RDC, there's an LC5, there's a whole government structure to be able to monitor this PDM. Why now for the president to move, especially in the CBD?
Thank you.
Isn't it an indictment to these structures?
No, if you are asking me a question that I cannot answer, because when PDM was launched, I wrote an article in the papers and I said PDM will not work.
Why?
Because the framework is the same like so many other programs that preceded it.
Youth leader.
You remember the last campaign that Semuju was talking about, where the president, instead of explaining what happened, you called the coordinator in the district and said, you tell people why things have not happened.